Today happens to be the National Youth Day on the occasion of Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary. I would like to ask what you think is a major difference in youth engagement from Swami Vivekananda's time to today.
He said, first of all, you need to be physically strong. He said, strength must be the first quality, and weakness must be considered as the foremost problem. So, had he been around today, how would he have conveyed the message of truth? One of the reasons he died so early was because he faced such stiff resistance, not from the Europeans or Americans, but from the Indian population itself. He did not take care of his food, his health, his various diseases, and before he could be 40, he was gone. He kept on saying, if I just get 100 suitable young people, I'll change the face of India. The work of a spiritual revolutionary, of the knower of Vedanta, and it is Vedanta that Swamiji was most fond of. He worshipped Vedanta, not any god. His work is to challenge the conditioning of the day. Challenge conditioning. What are we conditioned as? What are you conditioned to believe in? Tell me, please.
Today happens to be the National Youth Day on the occasion of Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary. His mission was to bring about a change through mobilization of the youth. You too have been referred to as the Swami Vivekananda of today by many media articles. Since you work quite intensively with the young population, especially with the leading institutions of the country like IITs, IIMs, AIMS, etc. Sir, I would like to ask what you think is a major difference in youth engagement from Swami Vivekananda's time to today. Is it easier now, or is it more difficult, or are there the same challenges? I would request you to please throw some light on this.
You see, the youth is always in a peculiar condition. And the peculiar condition is that the body, in a short span of, let's say, 6-7 years, attains almost a sudden maturity. If you consider the lifespan of a human being, 75-80 years on an average, 6-7 years is almost sudden, right? And you are a very changed biological being at 18 compared to what you are at 12, right? It just happens. And you have attained biological maturity, which means you can do a lot of things that adults can, and also you have energy comparable to other more grown-up adults, let's say those who are 30-35 years old, right? And all that has just happened when you were passing through your formal schooling and college or university education, right? Suddenly you find yourself a grown-up adult. No, life has not yet given you too many years to gather experience from, but it has given you the energy to shake things up, the power to procreate, and the responsibility to build systems, engage with systems, earn for yourself, right? All these things have suddenly come to you. You think of the two important decisions that people make in their lives, which is choosing their education and career. That's the first part of the decisions. And the second one being engaging with another human being of the other gender, and possibly marrying. Both these things get done right when you are quite young. And you don't really know the world too much. So that's the condition of the youth. Having a lot of potential, having a lot of energy, but not having enough understanding. Your schooling, your college education, during which you are growing up, does not cater to your inner development needs. That is taken as a given. It is assumed that the person is growing up in a physical way, therefore the person is also gaining inner maturity parallelly, which is a huge assumption, which is an erroneous assumption. That does not just happen. So what happens is that all this energy that the youth has is driven not by the understanding of the youth, but by the random forces of social, cultural, biological conditioning that operate upon you. That was the situation 100 years back, 120, 130 years back, if you're talking of Swami Vivekananda's times. And that is also the condition today, and that will be the condition forever, because that's how biology shapes up the youth. Right? Puberty used to happen at a certain age. In Vivekananda's time, it happens at almost the same age even today. So in that respect, the youth was vulnerable then, and the youth is equally vulnerable today. In the blink of an eye, the kid who used to play at home is entrusted with the responsibility to earn, make life decisions, choose a career, choose a partner. And all that happens, I said, just so quickly. Has the youth been equipped decently, responsibly to take all those decisions? No, that does not happen. So instead of understanding, what we have is conditioning. What was the conditioning operating at the time of Swami Vivekananda? The conditioning was twofold. Biologically, in the physical sense, the youth of that time was not quite strong. And mentally, the youth had been conditioned to believe that life is all about weakness and misery and defeat and subjugation. The genius of that monk lies in challenging both these conditionings. He said, first of all, you need to be physically strong. If you are little and weak and sick all the time, then there is not much that life can offer you. He said, strength must be the first quality, and weakness must be considered as the foremost problem, even the first sin. Weakness must be considered extremely abhorrent. Any feeling of helplessness or subjugation has to be kept aside. So he said those things, but if you see what he was challenging, he was not really challenging weakness, he was challenging conditioning. It's just that in those times, conditioning expressed itself as weakness. if you look at the average height of a 20-year-old today, you take a sample, 100, 200 youngsters, all 20 years old, and you look at their average height and average weight, you'll find the average height a couple of inches more than the height that was there in 1890 or the year 1900, Swamiji's times. Similarly, weight. You all have gained in weight. The youth of that time was quite emaciated. And if you look at girls especially, the difference in height and weight might be even more significant. Now, I am saying this from my hunch. You can corroborate the data from wherever it is available, if at all it is available. I think the data will validate what I am saying. So, there was a lot of weakness at that time, and poverty, and subjugation. India had simply been crushed and trampled over. And there was so much illiteracy. And the result was that the youth was in a state of complete lack of self-assuredness. Instead, what the youth had come to believe was that misery, defeat, weakness, surrender, meekness is the only and inevitable way of life. Just bow down. Bow down to life, bow down to oppressors, bow down to poverty, bow down to ignorance, lack of knowledge, bow down to all the random forces of situations that hit a human being. Swamiji said, no. That's not the truth. That's simply the way you are conditioned. Mind you, that's not the truth. That's simply the way you are conditioned. So, it is important to remember that the central work of Vivekananda was not really against just weakness or ignorance or whatever. It was against conditioning. It's just that conditioning expressed itself at that time as weakness and illiteracy and helplessness and ignorance, right? Now you tell me, as the youth of today, what does conditioning express itself as today? Because had Swamiji been alive today, he would not have conveyed the same message he did a century and a quarter ago. The message would have changed because the conditions have changed. See, the work of a spiritual revolutionary is to bring the truth to you. And what is the truth? Truth is not a concept. Truth is not a statement. Truth is not a principle to live by. Truth lies simply in getting rid of one's inner patterns. That which you have believed yourself to be, drop that. And what remains is the truth. Whatever you have become by chance, by ignorance, drop that, and what remains is the truth. So had he been around today, how would he have conveyed the message of truth? What has the youth of today become? Are we together? You see, his work lied in challenging what we have erroneously, falsely become. Year 1900, year 1890, that was the time when he was the most active. What had the youth become then? At that point, what was the condition of the youth? You remember conditioning. How had the youth of that time taken shape? What was the condition? What were they thinking? What did they look like? What was their belief system? Think of that. What were they saying? Let's say you meet someone from that time, right? 20 years old or 25. And what is that person saying? What is that person saying? Come on, please. First of all, how does he look? He or she. How does he look? Famished. Huh? And skinny. Because famished, hence skinny. And is he well read? What does he believe in? Superstitions. Wonderful. Lovely. When he looks at a white man, how does he feel? Ooh, inferior and afraid. Right? And what else? How does he, for example, look at other castes? Let's say he belongs to one of the so-called upper castes. How does he look at the so-called lower castes? Now this fellow himself is in tatters, but he is looking at a fellow human being, a fellow Indian, as untouchable, probably. Huh? How if he is a male, how does he look at women? Lower, inferior beings. Right? And he is conditioned to believe all of that. Probably he is a flat earther. Quite probable, right? Does he know where America is? Quite possible he also looks at other communities with a lot of distaste. Right? How much geography or history or biology does he know? Not much. The literacy rates had plummeted to almost single-digit levels in most parts of the country by that time. Such was the devastation, such was the havoc wreaked upon the education system, especially after 1857. People were not getting to learn, to read, to write. The existing system of education had been devastated. And no alternative, no mass-based alternative at least, had been created. So people were largely illiterate. So that's his situation. And when you look at him today, what do you say? Oh, he is so blinded by his beliefs. You know, when you look at him, you will say, a poor fellow. Inwardly, that fellow is very, very confident. He was so confident that in some way, he actually managed to obstruct Swami Vivekananda. One of the reasons he died so early was because he faced such stiff resistance, not from the Europeans or Americans, but from the Indian population itself. He did the best he could, and that was not really the age of technology. A lot of travel that he undertook was quite a burden on the body. Very painstakingly he travelled, sometimes on foot. He did not take care of his food, his health, his various diseases. And before he could be 40, he was gone. Think, who troubled him so much? Who troubled him so much that he had to depart? And he was a well-built man, strong. Pretty strongly built. And it's not as if he miraculously just chose to disappear or depart at that young age. He was brought down by ill health and disease. Who troubled him so much? Think of it. Who? And he's a strong man and he's a well-read man. I mean, well-read is an understatement. He's a champion author. And there is somebody who just pulverizes him to the ground. Who is this? That famished, ill-read, ill-bred, ill-fed fellow. He defeated Swamiji. Not in the final count, obviously, but at least temporarily. He kept on saying, if I just get 100 suitable young people, I'll change the face of India. He didn't get that many. It's debatable whether he got even 10 of them. You do not need to kill a man always directly. He's asking for something. He's betting his life on something. You devoid him of that which he wants so desperately, that which he loves with all his heart. He won't be able to live. Do you see this? It's just that we never love anything that heartfully. So we do not know what a real lover goes through. But if you ever want something really worthy, something really beautiful, with all your life, with all your energy, and you don't get it, you just don't feel like living. The youth of that time deprived Swami Vivekananda of what he wanted from them. And how did the youth deprive him? By blindly believing in whatever they believed in, whatever their concepts were. Today you look at that fellow we just talked of and you say, oh, 5 feet 4 inches, can't even write properly. You ask him to just tell how many major rivers are there in North India, he might not know. Ask him where do smallpox and chickenpox come from? He will say divine curse. That kind of a fellow. But that fellow, who is most probably racist, casteist, sexist, ignorant, that kind of a fellow manages to obstruct the work of a giant like Swami Vivekananda. That is the power of conditioning. It is conditioning that the Swami was fighting against. It's always possible and easy, rather, to look at someone else, especially from some other age, and see very clearly that the fellow is conditioned. Right? For example, today, if that fellow, imagine him standing here. Imagine. Today that fellow tells you, women do not need to be educated. You won't even feel like countering him, right? Some of you would laugh at him, others won't even feel like laughing at him. You would simply want to look elsewhere at something that is more pleasant, more meaningful, more sensible. But that fellow is very, very confident. He's saying, but women, they are for the kitchen and taking care of the kids, and what do they have to do by studying, reading, educated? I mean, will they wear coats and pants and go out to work like men? Ha ha ha. He'll be very sure of himself. He'll be, catch that word, he'll be very sure of himself. That's what. When you are so sure of yourself, then you can defeat even the most beneficial, most benevolent power that stands in front of you to help you, to uplift you. Conditioning manifests itself in, come on, repeat the word, sureness. And what's the popular word for sureness? Confidence. That skinny fellow, if you send his blood to some pathology lab, he would be found deficient in 20 things. In fact, he would be found deficient in everything. He might even be found deficient in a few organs. The fellow does not have a liver. That kind of deficiency. But he is not deficient in confidence. Deficient in everything, but not in. And that's what troubled Swami Vivekananda so much. He actually laid down his life. It's just that when you are killed by a gun, then you can see the blood flowing. Or when you wear a crown of thorns, as Jesus did, again you can see the cruelty there, out there, in a very obvious way. Or you find Socrates being made to drink poison. You can see it. Your eyes can see that. So you know this is murder. But when a Vivekananda dies that way, you do not see the blood flowing, and you do not see the thorns, and you do not see the poison. You do not see a head being chopped off, because you do not see. So you say, oh well, he just died out of some sickness. He was diseased. No, he was not diseased. He was killed. What killed him? The headstrong confidence that we have. You could call them headstrong jugheads. Extremely confident of themselves. And what they were then confident of, today we laugh at. Correct? What he was confident of that time, today we laugh at all those things, don't we? Maybe someone else would laugh at the things that we are today confident of. And confidence continues to be a buzzword even today, especially in the youth. Does it not? You all like to be confident, and you all admire confident people. Look at your role models. Don't they all act very confident? The ego, to sustain itself, all ignorance to sustain itself, must act very, very confident. Now, fast forward to 2023. What are we confident of? What are we confident of? And the inner confidence that we have is very, very stubborn. Times change. The ego tendency does not change. All change is just superficial, apparent, external. Internally, human beings continue to be the way they always were. What are we confident of? Obviously, if Vivekananda comes here today, he will not tell us to be physically strong. Most of us are already reasonably strong, right? You have gyms, The nutrition that you take is more or less okay. All kinds of sports facilities are there, right within the campus. So he will not talk of nutrition. At that time, he was talking a lot about good food, and he would say, come on, leave your ignorance behind. Get up, go and play football. Today, he does not need to tell you to play football. You already play football. What will he need to address today? What are you confident of today? Hint. You will resist him every bit as much as that fellow from the last century. Nobody wants to accept a Swami Vivekananda. His lot, his fate is to be resisted. He was resisted then, he would be resisted even today. He was resisted by everybody, including the youth. Then it is the youth that would resist him even today. Now that's very counterintuitive, because we love to talk of Swami Vivekananda as a youth icon. Right? Swami Vivekananda, the favorite of the youth. Youth icon, youth icon. And here I am asserting that were he to be here today, it is the youth that would resist him the most. Because the work of a spiritual revolutionary, of the knower of Vedant, and it is Vedant that Swamiji was most fond of. He worshipped Vedant, not any god. To him, Vedant was sacred. His work is to challenge the conditioning of the day. In that alone lies the worship of the truth. Challenge conditioning. What are we conditioned as? What are you conditioned to believe in? Tell me, please. His work would be equally difficult today. Beliefs have changed. The believer has not. The one who loves to live in beliefs has not changed. It's just that he has changed his beliefs. So there was one set of beliefs then. Be with me, come on. There is another set of beliefs now. But the tendency to live in beliefs has not changed. He'll have an equally tough task today with you guys. You will not Christian him as a youth icon. After he is gone, then another generation would. Not you. We would not like to listen to him. Listening to someone who brings the truth to you is always a difficult task. The nature of truth is that it cannot be pleasant, irrespective of how much you try to sweeten it or smoothen it. Are you getting it? Think of this. So many people would assemble to listen to him. When he returned from the States, a huge procession greeted him right at the port. But when he asked for just 100 people who could be his soldiers, he was denied.